I'm Amy Guth, and I'm here with John Cigna, founder and CEO of E78 Partners. E78 is a national consulting firm that provides finance and technology solutions to mid-market companies that are private equity backed or privately owned, and to enterprise clients across multiple industries. Over the last 5 years, E78 has completed a total of 12 acquisitions, enabling the company to expand not only its capabilities across the office of the CFO and CIO, but has also enabled geographic expansion and access to top talent from coast to coast. John is talking with us today from Oak Brook, where the company is headquartered. John, welcome.
Hi, Amy. Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you. Glad that we're here today. Your career includes CFO roles for PE-backed companies and also as a vice president of a multi-billion-dollar PE firm. So tell me about your vision for E78 and what inspired you to establish the company.
Sure. Yeah, I think it starts with the inspiration. So I'll give a little bit of background. My family migrated here. I'm first generation, and so learned a lot of good values growing up: hard work, sacrifice. Was fortunate enough to start a career as a CPA, and garner some really strong technical skills in accounting. Made my way into private equity, and that's where I was exposed to investors. I was exposed to dozens, if not hundreds, of entrepreneurs. With my experience in private equity, what I had observed was that we were so dependent as a private equity investor on data, and that data came from the company's CFOs, right? The companies that we had invested in, and the reliance on that data, and not just the data, but the insights that you draw from that data to make better business decisions and investment decisions is so critical. And what I had observed was it was really difficult to accumulate that data, the market data, the operational data, the financial data, and coalesce that in a way where you can deliver those insights. And so my inspiration for E78 was to partner with private equity firms and with CFOs to be able to capture that data, leveraging technology, leveraging technical expertise, bringing those insights to key stakeholders to really drive value across the companies that they're investing in.
And what about the inspiration for the name E78 Partners?
Yeah, so in my experience at the firm I was working with, we were developing playbooks that would support CFOs with their onboarding, with executing their operational initiatives, and we internally kind of dubbed them the platinum playbooks for CFOs. And so E78 is short for element 78, and the 78th element of the periodic table is platinum. So it's our platinum playbooks for CFOs.
So one area that E78 has supported for CFOs and private equity firms is around financial planning and analytics. It's budget season. So from your experience, what are some of the challenges that firms are experiencing right now?
Well, I think there's a number of challenges right now. I think, starting at the macro level, rising in inflation, rising interest rates, companies across the multiple sectors have been impacted in different ways. Technology companies have been hit pretty hard this year, and so when you kind of take that macro environment, you look at companies aren't growing as quickly as they were 24 months ago. It's just a much more challenging environment, I would say. And so, where we can support, especially this time of year, where we're supporting companies that we're working with, is revisiting things like strategy, right? Does the strategy that you had in a robust market, still apply today? Where do you need to pivot potentially, right? So let's understand strategy first. And once we have a strategy designed and developed to win, what are the key priorities that we need to establish and stay focused on in order to execute on our vision, on our strategy, right? And then we'll support companies in determining what's the right organizational structure that we need, and then what is it specifically that we need to measure, right, in order to manage the performance of the business. I think it was Jack Welch that said, "You can't manage what you can't measure." And so that's where we can come in and help support those initiatives around identifying the right KPIs, measuring those KPIs so that we can manage the business in the most effective way and really execute on strategy.
Mhm. So talk about the role that staffing and talent has in the budget and planning process. Specifically, how does the company know if they have the right people in place, and what do they do if they do not?
Yeah, it's a good question. Companies know whether they're receiving, right? Management teams know whether they're receiving the information in a timely basis. Is it accurate? Is it not? Um, and where we come in oftentimes is when there is a resource gap, or if there is a talent gap or a capability gap within an organization. The private equity firms that we partner with, they're typically investing in entrepreneurially run businesses. They're the first, institutional capital that's being invested in these businesses, partnering with entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs are great at, building a business, developing a product or a service that's great for the market, but they ultimately reach an inflection point where they feel like they need to bring in outside expertise, outside capital in order to continue to grow. And what private equity firms realize is that there's real talent gaps across, let's call it the executive level. And what we do is we come in and we help fill those talent gaps either on an interim basis or a permanent basis or an outsourced basis. And so that's typically, it's either the private equity firm or the management team knows where those gaps are, and we can come in and help fill those pretty quickly.
And technology plays an important role with forecasting and budget planning. What makes E78 different in their technology solutions offerings?
Yeah, so we have a few solutions that we can advise an implementation on internally, but the world of technology, there are so many great solutions out there. We as a firm could not possibly be experts in every single one of them, and so what we've done is we've developed relationships with channel partners where if the solutions that we have to offer and advise and implement internally are not the right solutions for our clients, we're happy to work with our channel partners and refer our clients to a solution partner that does make sense. And so we can help with advising, implementing, optimizing the right technology that's going to enable growth. It's going to enable stronger productivity. At the end of the day, you're leveraging technology to become more productive. And so from a tech standpoint, it's delivering people, it's delivering technology that can ultimately increase productivity and drive efficiency and ultimately drive value for our clients.
Could you share an example of maybe a successful case study of when E78 worked with a company and positively impacted their bottom line?
Sure. Great example I like to use. My area of expertise was healthcare. The firm that I was with before I founded E78 was really focused on the healthcare sector, and so we've focused on it internally, given the nuances associated with that particular industry. And so over a 3-year period, we partnered with a private equity firm who was executing on a strategy where they had developed a platform that would enable specialty dental practices and dentists to focus on what they do best, which is patient care, right? And take over the back office operations, right, to support these dentists. And so when they started, they had the capital to acquire these practices, but they really didn't have a platform, meaning they didn't have a business that had functional areas that could support these dental practices. There was no accounting department or finance department or HR or IT. The private equity firm came to us. We leveraged our playbook that we designed specifically for healthcare, specifically for multi-site physician practice organizations. And essentially, we've enabled the private equity firm to focus on what was really going to drive value for them and their stakeholders, which was acquiring these dental practices in these various geographies, focus on M&A, while E78 focused on all of the back office operations. And so over a 3-year period, this private equity firm was able to go from 3 dental practices that it started with to north of 50 practices and ultimately sell their stake in the company and realize a significant return, more than a 3x return on their invested capital in just under 3 years.
How many private equity firms does E78 work with in Chicago?
We work with over 25 firms here in Chicago. Proud that Chicago is the second largest market in terms of number of private equity firms, only next to New York, which is the mecca of PE. But yes, we work with more than a couple dozen PE firms here in Chicago. Probably represent several billion of assets under management, and what that ultimately translates to is investments in dozens, if not hundreds, of companies who create thousands, tens of thousands of jobs, right? Not only across the great city of Chicago, but across the country.
Yeah. And what would you say differentiates E78 Partners from other consultants in the finance and technology industries?
Yeah, so we've been acquisitive, and it's been through the series of acquisitions that we've done over the last 4 years that has enabled us to achieve the size and scale that we have today. Through those acquisitions, we've acquired some great talent across the country and some great capabilities, right? And so as I look at E78 relative to our competition in the market, I believe we have the most comprehensive suite of service offerings. I believe we have the most diversified delivery models. In other words, not only can we provide a talent solution, right, a resource within the organization, we can do that on an interim basis. We can do that on a permanent basis. We can do it on an outsourced basis. And that's quite unique. That's quite differentiated. We're not a pure consulting firm that's just consulting or advising. We will actually roll up our sleeves and perform the work and serve really as an extension of our clients' teams.
John, thanks for joining us today and sharing the E78 story.
Thank you, Amy. Good to be with you.
Of course. I'm Amy Guth, and this is Crain's Quick Take.